Welcome back, everyone. We are going to move into Act 4, Scene 5 today. We're going to think about what's happening in Elsinore now that Hamlet has left the castle. So we see Horatio enter with Gertrude and a gentleman, and the queen immediately begins the scene. I will not speak with her. Well, there's only one other female in the play, right? So clearly Ophelia wants to speak with the queen, and the gentleman says she's importunate, indeed distract. Her mood will needs be pitied. Oh, the queen, what does she want, basically? What would she have, right? She speaks much of her father. Says she hears there's tricks in the world and hems and beats her heart, right? She beats at her heart, spurns enviously at straws, speaks things in doubt, that carry but half sense. Her speech is nothing, yet the unshaped use of it doth move the hearers to collection. They yawn at it and botch the words up to fit their own thoughts, which, as her winks and nods and gestures yield them, indeed would make one think there might be thought, though nothing sure, yet much unhappily. Basically, Ophelia has gone crazy. She is talking a lot. She's saying a lot of things, but none of it makes any sense. And the way she's talking move people to pity her because she is bereft now. After finding out about the death of Polonius, Ophelia loses her mind, right? And we have to remember kind of what situation Ophelia was in beforehand. Hamlet is gone suddenly, without a word, without a trace. He has been driven into madness. And before he is basically forced out of the castle by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, before he is sent on this envoy to England, quickly, right, in the middle of the night, so to speak, he kills Ophelia's father. Laertes is in France, right? So Ophelia now is alone. I'd like you to think about the gender stereotypes of Elizabethan England, and I'd like you to think about what happens when a woman is left on her own. What happens to Gertrude, right? Her husband dies. She immediately remarries Claudius, right? She marries somebody, so she's not alone. Remember what Hamlet says in Act 1, right? Frailty, thy name is woman. And now we see Ophelia being left on her own for the first time. She has no immediate male heir to take care of her, and she loses her mind. We have to think about the guilt that was on her originally from Hamlet's madness, and we also need to think about these motifs, right? Think about these themes of madness. We see Hamlet pretending to be mad. We see his antic disposition. We wonder, does he really go mad or not? That's up for debate, but we see Ophelia definitely goes mad. And so many argue that Ophelia's madness is a foil for Hamlet's madness, whereas hers is genuine and distraught. Hamlet's is feigned and antic, right? His is pretended and intentional. So when we see Ophelia here, we have to think about her as that potential foil for Hamlet, right? Let's go through. So Horatio tells the queen it would be good to speak to her, right? 'Twere good she were spoken with, for she may stir dangerous conjectures in ill-breeding minds. If she's not spoken with, she's gonna make people think the wrong things. So basically he advises the queen, you need to help her, take care of her, talk to her, because otherwise people are going to start to talk, and that's going to make things dangerous. So the queen says, let her come in, and in an aside, the queen says to herself, to my sick soul, as sin's true nature is, each toy seems prologue to some great amiss. So full of artless jealousy is guilt, it spills itself in fearing to be spilt. Right? So full of artless jealousy is guilt. Right? Guilt, full of artless jealousy, craftless jealousy. It spills itself in fearing to be spilled. So this guilt kind of spreading throughout the castle here, right? So Ophelia enters and asks, where is the beauteous majesty of Denmark? And the queen, how now, Ophelia? And of course Ophelia starts singing. I'd like you to look through everything that Ophelia sings. No, I'm sorry guys, I'm not going to sing it for you. Nope, sorry. But take a look at what she's singing about. Frequently, it is nothing appropriate. Nope. Certainly not for a lady of her caliber. Okay? So, she's singing here, and then of course the queen says, alas, sweet lady, what imports this song? Say you, Nay, pray you, mark, she says. And then she starts singing, he is dead and gone, lady, he is dead and gone. At his head a grass green turf, at his heels a stone. Of course, she's singing about her father. She seems to be going back and forth in her songs between a lost love and a lost father, right? So between Hamlet and Polonius, she's kind of going back and forth here in the madness. And then the queen tries to interrupt. Nay, but Ophelia, pray you mark. She says, listen. No, listen. Right? White his shroud as the mountain snow, and then Claudius enters, right? And the queen asks, look here, my lord, and Ophelia, larded with sweet flowers, which be wept to the ground, did not go, with true love showers. Just this is a funeral song, right? How do you, pretty lady? The king says. Well, God heal you, she says. They say the owl was a baker's daughter. Lord, we know what we are, but know not what we may be. God be at your table, right? Lord, we know what we are, but not what we may be. How does that play into the motif of false appearances? Consider, okay? And then the king says she's thinking about her father, right? Conceit upon her father. She's thinking about Polonius. She says, pray, let's have no words of this. But when they ask what it means, say you this. Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day, all in the morning betime, and I am made at your window to be your Valentine. All right, then up he rose and donned his clothes, put on his clothes, and up the chamber door, let in the maid that out a maid never departed more. Yikes. That is wildly inappropriate. And the king, pretty Ophelia, like they try to stop her because the song is crazy for her to be singing. And then she sings some more, and it's definitely not appropriate. Quoth she, before you tumbled me, you promised me to. It's all about scorned love. It's all about broken promises. All of this, basically, about having these romantic encounters with marriage as the promise, and then that promise broken. Okay, so you guys can see where that's going. I'm not going to go into that much further. All right, and the king asks, how long has she been like this? Ophelia cuts in, I hope all will be well. We must be patient. But I cannot choose but weep to think they would lay him in the cold ground. My brother shall know of it. And so I thank you for your good counsel. Come, my coach. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night, good night. And just as if she were in charge. Okay. And the king to Horatio, follow her close, give a good watch, I pray you. And Horatio leaves to just keep an eye on Ophelia and make sure she's safe, I guess, for a while. And look at what Claudius says. Oh, this is the poison of deep grief. It springs all from her father's death. And now behold, O Gertrude, Gertrude, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions, right? Sorrows all come at once. First her father slain, next your son gone, and he, most violent author of his own just remove, right? And he, the murderer of Polonius, basically earned his removal from the castle. The people muddied, thick and unwholesome in their thoughts and whispers for good Polonius's death, and we have done but greenly and hugger-mugger to inter him. So there are a couple of problems here. The people are whispering rumors about how Polonius died, and the king kind of rushed Polonius's funeral too. So it really wasn't even a good enough funeral. Poor Ophelia, divided from herself and her fair judgment, without the which we are pictures or mere beasts. Last, and as much containing as all these, her brother in secret come from France, feeds on this wonder, keeps himself in clouds, and wants not buzzers to infect his ear with pestilent speeches of his father's death, where in necessity of matter beggared will nothing stick our person to arraign in ear and ear. So, Laertes has come secretly from France. Ophelia doesn't know, and he's got people telling him about Polonius's death, and he's blaming the king, and won't hear anything else of it. Oh, my dear Gertrude, this, like to a murdering piece in many places, gives me superfluous death. It's making him afraid. It's making him worried about what's going to happen, right? There's a noise within. Basically, it sounds like there's an attack coming. And the queen, alack, what noise is this? She's terrified. Attend. Where is my Switzers? Let them guard the door. He wants his guards. And a messenger enters. What's the matter? The messenger, save yourself, my lord. In terror here, the ocean overpeering of his list eats not the flats with more impetuous haste than young Laertes. The ocean itself does not rush in faster than young Laertes, and a riotous head o'erbears your officers. So Laertes has attacked the castle. The rabble call him lord, and, as the world were now but to begin, antiquity forgot, custom not known, the ratifiers and props of every word, they cry, choose we, Laertes shall be king. Caps, hands, and tongues applauded to the clouds, Laertes shall be king, Laertes king. So, since Hamlet is gone, Laertes' entourage, if you will, is attacking the castle and shouting for Laertes to become the king to overthrow Claudius. And the queen, how cheerfully on the false trail they cry, right? That's awful. It's basically treason, right? Oh, this is counter, you false Danish dogs. So she's shouting at them, this is treason. And the doors are broken, and Laertes enters with others. Where is this king, sirs? Stand you all without. So he tells the crowd that has just attacked the castle, wait outside, I'll handle this with the king. And they all want to come in. I pray you give me leave. Fine, they go out. Keep the door, right? Watch the door. Now, he approaches Claudius. Oh, thou vile king, give me my father. And the queen jumps in the middle. Calmly, good Laertes. And Laertes says, the drop of blood that's calm proclaims me bastard. Cries, cuckold to my father. Brands the harlot, even here between the chaste and smirched brow of my true mother. That's really, really bad. So, if I have one drop of blood in me, then I am not truly my father's son. Think about how now is he a foil to Hamlet, right? He rushes in a rage to kill Claudius for revenge for Polonius's death. And it wasn't Polonius who killed him, or it wasn't Claudius who killed him, right? And yet Laertes is rushing in here, seeking revenge for the death of his father. And Claudius, of course, jumps. What is the cause, Laertes, that thy rebellion looks so giant-like? Let him go, Gertrude. Do not fear our person. He won't hurt me. There such divinity doth hedge a king that treason can but peep to what it would, acts little of his will. Tell me, Laertes, why thou art thus incensed. Let him go, Gertrude. Speak, man. And Laertes, where is my father? And the king, dead. He tells him, dead. And the queen jumps in, but not by him, right? It's not Claudius's fault. And the king says, let him demand his fill. He's letting Laertes face him man to man. He's trying to make Gertrude stand out of the way so that they can have this showdown, so that they can have this conflict, this confrontation, right? Laertes says, how came he dead? I'll not be juggled with. To hell allegiance, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit. I dare damnation. This is strong language. To this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence, let come what comes, only I'll be revenged most thoroughly for my father, right? And the king says, who shall stay you, right? Who's going to stop you? Who's stopping you, right? My will, he says, not all the worlds, and for my means I'll husband them so well they shall go far with little, right? So Laertes basically saying, the only thing that's stopping me right now is my own will. I want to hear more about this. The king says, good Laertes, if you desire to know the certainty of your dear father, is written your revenge that, swoop stake, you will draw both friend and foe, winner and loser? Laertes says, none but his enemies. Okay, well, you know them then. Basically, the king says, listen, in your attempt to revenge, are you going to kill both your father's friends and enemies? And Laertes says, no, just his enemies. Okay, well, you know them then, right? Can I tell you who they are? And Laertes says, to his good friends thus wide I'll ope my arms, right? He stretches out his arms. And like the kind life-rending pelican repast them with my blood. All right, the king says, why now you speak like a good child and a true gentleman, that I am guiltless of your father's death and am most sensibly in grief for it. It shall as level to your judgment pair as day does to your eye. Right, and they hear a noise within. And now what noise is that? And Ophelia enters, right? Let her come in. And now Laertes sees his sister in this madness and goes even further into his despair than he was before. Oh, heat, he says, dry up my brains. Tears 7 times salt, burn out the sense and virtue of mine eyes. By heaven, thy madness shall be paid with weight till our scale turn the beam. O Rose of May, dear maid, kind sister, sweet Ophelia, O heavens, is it possible a young maid's wits should be as mortal as an old man's life? Nature is fine in love, and where 'tis fine it sends some precious instance of itself after the thing it loves. Okay, Ophelia starts singing again about being sent to a grave, right? Fare you well, my dove. Laertes, hadst thou thy wits and didst persuade revenge, it could not move thus. Even if you had your wits about you, even if you were sane and begged me to get revenge, it would not move me as much as this moment right now. Feel you must sing, a down, right? And when you call him Madonna, oh, how the wheel becomes it. It is the false steward that stole his master's daughter, right? Like, there's nothing's more than matter, right? What is she talking about? what is she talking about? Ophelia. Now, remember when I told you to check out the Shakespeare Garden, right? There's Rosemary. That's for remembrance. She's handing out flowers. And some, she has a basket of flowers that she's picked. In some, they're just imaginary flowers because she's mad. So maybe she is just handing out imaginary flowers, right? There's rosemary for remembrance. Pray you love, remember. There's pansies. That's for thoughts, right? Ladies, a document in madness, thoughts and remembrance fitted. There's fennel for you and columbines. There's rue for you, and here's some for me. We may call it herb of grace of Sundays. You must wear your rue with a difference. There's a daisy. I would give you some violets, but they withered all when my father died. They say he made a good end. And then she sings, right? Sweet Bonnie Robin is all my joy. Laertes, thoughts and affliction, passion, hell itself. She turns to favor and to prettiness. All of this evil that surrounds her, all of this madness and this pain and this grief. And here she is turning to pretty things, looking for pretty things. And Ophelia sings. Laertes is so sad. Do you see this? Oh, God, right? And the king, look at what Claudius does to Laertes here. Laertes, I must commune with your grief or you deny me right. I'm mourning with you. I have the same grief as you do. Go but apart. Make choice of whom your wisest friends you will, and they shall hear and judge twixt you and me. If by direct or by collateral hand they find us touched, if your friends, those smartest friends you have, find me in any way guilty of this, we will our kingdom give, our crown, our life, and all that we call ours to you in satisfaction. That's a royal we. I will give you my crown, my life, everything, whatever you want, in satisfaction. But if not, if they do not find me guilty, be you content to lend your patience to us, and we shall jointly labor with your soul to give it due content. I'll work with you to try to get you your revenge from where it is rightly due. Laertes says, let this be so. His means of death, his obscure funeral, no trophy sword, nor hatchment o'er his bones, no noble right, nor formal ostentation, cry to be heard as 'twere from heaven to earth, that I must call it in question. Right? The king says, so you shall. And where the offense is, let the great axe fall. I pray you go with me. We see Claudius right here kind of grooming Laertes, getting him ready to place his extreme hatred and desire for revenge, not with Claudius, but with Hamlet. All right? And so we kind of see where this is directing and where this is going to go. All right. We will read the rest of Act 4 another time. Have a wonderful day.